Receive the highest value and unmatched security for the remittance sent by your loved ones abroad from People's Bank. Get extra 10 rupees for every dollar and receive a refund of transaction fees up to rupees 1,000. When depositing funds to a rupee account, receive the highest value and unmatched security for the remittance sent by your loved ones abroad from People's Bank. Get extra 10 rupees for every dollar and receive a refund of transaction fees up to rupees 1,000 when depositing funds to a rupee account.
In a few moments, the news.
Receive the highest value and unmatched security for the remittance sent by your loved ones abroad from People's Bank.
This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
The time is 6:15. Here's the news edited by Lakshman Fonseca, read by Victor Raj. Here are the headlines of the local news. The fuel price formula drafted and will be presented to the Cabinet next week. The government pensioners need to submit certificates of being alive to the Divisional Secretary on or before 31st of March. Sri Lanka's tourist arrivals crossed the 40,000 mark by today. Economics says trade union action has crippled economic state of the country. The Paddy Marketing Board purchased about 30,000 metric tons of paddy from the harvest. The movement of traffic will be restricted along the Colombo-Horan Road from today. Foreign news, the UN says thousands may face starvation from February to May in hunger hotspots. Local news in detail. Energy Minister Udaya Kammampela says the fuel price formula has been drafted and will be presented to the Cabinet next week. The Energy Minister says although the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation has made a request to the Ministry of Finance for a fuel price increase due to the price increase in the world market, no decision has been taken so far to amend the fuel prices. The Minister told Parliament that a formula must be adopted immediately, as the poor will have to bear the burden if fuel prices in Sri Lanka are not revised to reflect the world market prices. The government pensioners need to submit certificates of being alive to the Divisional Secretariat through their Grama Niladaris on or before March 31st. The Pensions Department has instructed Divisional Secretaries countrywide that it should be confirmed before March 31st. The department said if pensioners ignore these instructions, their allowance would not be paid for May this year. It is reported as close relatives of some dead pensioners have been obtaining the pensions illegally, and it is practiced in many areas of the country. The Pensions Department has made this request mandatory for all government pensioners. The Pensions Department said over 3 million rupees is lost annually by the government as a result of fraud committed by close relatives of the dead government pensioners. Senior lecturer at the Department of the Economics of the University of Colombo, Dr. Pringa Dunasinghe, says trade unions' action continually taken has crippled the economic state of the country. He said the protesters had wasted considerable amount of human working hours in the recent past. He said the general public coming to take these services from the state-owned institutions had to opt for remedial action as a result. Meanwhile, the President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has banned strikes in the health and electricity sectors as trade union action that has crippled state-run hospitals and entered its sixth day. The President on Saturday invoked a 1979 law prohibiting stoppages in the two sectors, declaring all related work essential public services. The tough regulations allow courts to hand down 5-year jail terms and confiscate the assets of those refusing work. The move followed health unions ignoring a court order on Thursday instructing them to suspend their strike pending a hearing of a petition against their action. The government has refused, saying the current economic situation does not allow it to increase the salaries at the budget. This news comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
Get extra 10 rupees for every dollar and receive a refund of transaction fees up to rupees 1,000 when depositing funds to a rupee account from People's Bank. Get extra 10 rupees for every dollar and receive a refund of...
Continuing with more local news, Sri Lanka's tourist arrivals crossed the 40,000 mark in the first 13 days of February. The provisional data from the Sri Lanka's Tourism Development Authority released shows that the island has welcomed over 40 tourists from February 1st to 12th. The arrival rate for the month of February brings the daily arrival average to 3,134. The Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority said Russia, the country to lead as the largest tourist traffic generator for Sri Lanka, with 4,566 visitors from that country. The UK takes over India's position as the second largest with 3,799 arrivals. India ranks the third with over 4,000 visitors. The other key markets including Germany, Ukraine, France, Poland and Kazakhstan, the Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority said. The Paddy Marketing Board says the board has purchased about 30,000 metric tons of paddy harvest from the Ala season at a price of 90 to 95 rupees per kilo from the farmers in the north and east. Vice Chairman of the Paddy Marketing Board, Dominder Priyadarshana, said the paddy purchasing program is being implemented on the instructions of the President Gotabaya Rajapaksa and under the supervision of Agricultural Minister Mahindananda Lutkamage. The Deputy Chairman also said the board was able to purchase more stocks of paddy in a short period of time than the early years. Meanwhile, cooperative societies in the Polonnaruwa districts has also taken steps to purchase paddy at the given price. Chairman of the Polonnaruwa Cooperative Societies, Suranga Kumara, informs the farmers to bring their paddy harvest to the purchasing centres located at a close proximity. The movement of traffic will be restricted along the Colombo-Horana Road as a result of the development of the Bokundar Bridge in Piliyandala. Sri Lanka Police announced that the restriction will be applied from the 13th of February until further notice. Accordingly, 2 lanes will be open for vehicles to travel to Colombo from 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. daily, and 1 lane will be allowed to use to motorists to Horana during that time. Further, from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m., 2 lanes will be open to travel to Horana, while 1 lane will be open to travel to Colombo. That ends local news.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Sri Lanka Navy have seized 2 Indian trawlers along with 12 Indian fishermen on board. The fishermen had been poaching in Sri Lankan waters. They were taken into custody in an operation conducted in seas north of Talaimana. The Navy also nabbed 12 Indian fishermen aboard the poaching vessel in this operation. The Navy said the operation had been conducted adhering to COVID-19 protocols and arrangements are being made to hand over the Indian poaching vessels and fishermen held in the operation to relevant authorities. Sri Lanka Navy also said it is conducting regular patrols and operations to curb illegal fishing activities in Sri Lankan waters, consulting the impact of the foreign fishermen poaching in Sri Lankan waters on the local fishing community and the sustainability of fishery resources of Sri Lanka. That ends the main news story. Moving on to Watchlight, it is reported the health officials concerned with the COVID-19 pandemic has led to a rise in the number of leprosy patients. Health officials say it is impacting negatively the target set by the anti-leprosy campaign to eradicate leprosy by 2025. This has also prompted the campaign to revise its national strategic plan and set a new 2030 deadline. Director of the campaign, Dr. Champa Aluthvera, said that there are an increasing number of leprosy patients in the country in the last 2 years. She said that the total number of new cases identified in 2020 stood at 1,290 compared to 1,749 cases in 2019. But there had been no updates from district public health inspectors assigned to monitor the leprosy situation. That ends Watchlight. Moving on to world news, let's take a look at the headlines. Japan, the United States and South Korea says North Korea's repeated ballistic missile launches is a threat. Russia claims a violation of its territorial waters by U.S. Navy submarine. The UN says thousands may face starvation from February to May in hunger hotspots. World news in detail. Foreign chiefs from Japan, the United States and South Korea making a statement said North Korea's repeated ballistic missile launches is a threat. They say the threat will equally affect to the peace and stability of the international community. Japanese and Korean foreign ministers and the U.S. Secretary of State met in Hawaii on Saturday and agreed to step up security cooperation among the three countries to increase deterrence. They confirmed the importance of strictly implementing the UN Security Council resolutions against North Korea and agreed that their countries will closely coordinate on this Security Council's future responses. The ministers also agreed to cooperate in addressing issues of international concern, including response to the coronavirus pandemic and climate change. Russia's defense minister says it summoned a military attache at the U.S. Embassy in Moscow to protest what it called a violation of its territorial waters by a U.S. Navy submarine. The minister said on Saturday that the nuclear-powered submarine belonging to the U.S. Navy was spotted in the area of the routine naval exercise of Russia's Pacific Fleet in the territorial waters. The minister also said the U.S. submarine ignored warnings to leave the waters. It added that the submarine departed after a Russian vessel used what it called appropriate means against the submarine. The ministry did not give details of the measures. However, a spokesperson for U.S. Indo-Pacific Command said that there is no truth to Russian claims of U.S. Navy operations in Russia's territorial waters. The Food and Agriculture Organization FAO and World Food Programme WFP warn people living in parts of 20 countries will face acute food insecurity from February through May 2022. The United Nations agency said urgent and targeted humanitarian action is needed in these places to avoid putting the lives and livelihood of this population at risk. They said among the hunger hotspots, Ethiopia, Nigeria, South Sudan, and Yemen are on the highest alert. In a recent report, the UN defined famine as an extreme deprivation of food. This refers to a condition in which an area has at least 20% households facing extreme lack of food, at least 30% children suffering from acute malnutrition, and 2 of every 10,000 people dying each day due to outright starvation. To wrap up the world news, let's take a look at the headlines once again. Japan, the United States and South Korea says North Korea's repeated ballistic missile launches is a threat. Russia claims violation of its territorial waters by U.S. Navy submarine. The UN says thousands may face starvation from February to May in hunger hotspots. That ends world news.
Development News is brought to you by Let's take coal out of the coconut tree and make the island thriving and prosperous. Call our hotline 1928. WhatsApp 070 400 1928.
The new chairman of Sri Lanka Ports Authority, Dr. Prasantha Jayamana, says the port of Colombo will become the 13th largest in the world with the addition of another 7 million TEUs capacity by 2024 to 2025. Currently, the Colombo port has a capacity of 7 million TEUs. Dr. Jayamana also said his vision for Sri Lanka's ports is making them vibrant, business-friendly entities. Referring to containers held up at the Colombo port and demurrage issue, he said the SLBC has offered importers a special waiver of panel charges from the Colombo January 31st. That ends development news.
Development news was brought to you by the coconut tree is well grown in almost all the parts of the island. It is an exceptional source of extra income. The shell, the husk and almost all the parts of the coconut tree makes you money, providing you with an excellent extra source of income. It will also help to nourish the economy of the country. You will be guided with all necessary informations regarding the coconut cultivation, with the novel cultivation techniques and all other related and upgraded informations by the Coconut Research Institute, Lunavilla. Call our hotline 1928. WhatsApp 070 400 1928. Sports News is brought to you by
Sampath Bank. We present your future.
Sports news. It's cricket. Sri Lanka's skipper Dasun Shanaka won the toss and chose to bowl in the second 2020 against Australia at Sydney Cricket Ground on Sunday. World champions Australia won the first clash of the 5-match series on Friday by 20 runs despite a middle-order collapse restricting them to 149 for 9. They made one change with his speedster Kane Richardson coming in for Mitchell Starc, who has been rested. Sri Lanka, whose top order struggled in the run chase on Friday, also made one change after fast bowler Binura Fernando tested positive for COVID-19 and was ruled out. It opened the door for Nuwan Thushara to make his debut. Both teams exceptionally played well and scored 164, and it was levelled and had to opt for super over. Sri Lanka could only take 6 runs from it, but Australia scored 9 runs in 3 balls with 2 fours to win the match. That ends the sports news.
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022, remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSB U Trust.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Local social media influencers have been called on by Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority to come on board to create fresh digital content and promote the country to target markets. The SLTDA has called for bids from local social media travel influencers for destination in media promotion of Sri Lanka tourism. The Tourism Promotion Board will select 3 social media influencers based on their online presence on Facebook, YouTube and Instagram. That ends Business News.
Business News, sponsored by
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally. Will you be the lucky winner of the NSP Golden Jubilee? 50 gold sovereigns for the top prize winner of the NSP Golden Jubilee. Scooters for the 10 second prize winners. iPhones for the 10 third prize winners. Mountain bikes for the 29 fourth prize winners. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSB U Trust.
Economic news, courtesy of
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibility. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act number 42 of 2011.
Minister of Trade Dr. Bandula Gunawardana and the Ambassador of Indonesia Dewi Gustina Tobing has held with the aim of strengthening trade relations between Sri Lanka and Indonesia. Trade Minister said that this step should be taken to strengthen trade between the two countries by connecting the Sri Lankan export sector and the Indonesian trade community. The minister also said that the Indonesian student community could be facilitated to study in Sri Lanka and steps were being taken to create more space in the Indonesian market for value-added products in the country. Meanwhile, Indonesian Ambassador to Sri Lanka Dewi Gustina Tobing congratulated Sri Lanka on its recent achievement in obtaining the geographical index for Ceylon cinnamon. That ends economic news.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibility. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act number 42 of 2011.
On to the weather report. Cloudy skies will prevail over north central and eastern provinces. Showers will occur at times in northern, north central, eastern and Ubud provinces and in Hambantota, Nuwara and Matha districts. Heavy showers about 100 mm can be expected at some places in north central and eastern provinces and Matha districts. Showers or thundershowers will occur at several places elsewhere during the evening or night. Heavy showers about 100 mm can be expected to take place some places in Sabaragamuwa and western provinces and in Kandy, Nuwara, Galle and Matha districts. That ends with the report. To wrap up the evening news broadcast on Radio Sri Lanka, let's take a look at the headlines once again. The fuel price formula drafted and will be presented to the Cabinet next week. The government pensioners need to submit certificates of being alive to the Divisional Secretary on or before 31st of March. Sri Lanka's tourist arrival crossed the 40,000 mark by today. Economics says trade union action has crippled the economic state of the country. The Paddy Marketing Board purchased about 30,000 metric tons of paddy from the harvest. The movement of traffic will be restricted along the Colombo-Horner Road from today. Foreign news, the UN says thousands may face starvation from February up to May in hunger hotspots. That ends the evening news broadcast on Radio Sri Lanka.